there, welcome back. I'm going to do a brief video on River, which is the new film from the director of Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, and this is Junta Yamaguchi. It's always fun watching me try to pronounce Japanese names, I'll never get old. So his first film was Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, which had a similar idea to this one as you can see 2 minutes in the future, but with that one it's tying two bits of technology together, which gave you an idea of something's going to happen in 2 minutes time. You had to extrapolate what it was, and it would create a reaction of a collection of events that make sense slowly over time as this time loop kind of works itself out. So, but in this new one, River, it's a time that loops literally goes, you start 2 minutes later, you go back to where you started constantly, but you remember everything that happened. So it's a different thing. It's the idea is the limitation of 2 minutes means you only got 2 minutes, so you're not seeing that far into the future with one of them, and another one is you've only 2 minutes to try and work this thing out. So it limits it, but also means you can actually focus on the minute to minute interactions, and it's the plot doesn't have a danger of going off into some weird territory. I actually preferred River to Beyond the Infinite. Beyond the Infinite was, when it came out, for me, it had been so hyped up, because even though it was only hyped up in certain circles of the Asian cinema enthusiasts, people who like third window films and things like that, but it had been hyped up, so by the time I got to see it, it'd already been like, you wouldn't believe this film type of thing. It had to kind of so it had to do more than it would have had to do with me if I'd seen it fresh and not known anything about it, because it was like, okay, impress me. This new one had less of that. It's just come out. I saw it in streaming, but I'm going to get the Blu-ray at some point, because the film, I really enjoyed the film. I think I thought this was strongest. I liked the gimmick more. It was one main thing. Also, I thought it gave them more to do. I thought it was what seemed to be a more limiting gimmick. They actually found a lot of interesting kinks with it, so that it actually had, and more elements you could character-based elements I found that you could do. Where with the other one, it was like them trying to work out what the information was we're getting from 2 minutes in the future, and then watching them their actions create that event. So it was more time traveling, more sci-fi. It was character based, but it had, to me, it was slightly less satisfying than this one. So now into River. I'll know the other film now. So River is like, they're at this hotel. There's people at a hotel just outside Kyoto. There's a river beside the hotel, and they're preparing for winter. You get different people there. Some people just coming for afternoon lunch. Other people staying there. There's a writer who's staying there trying to complete a novel, or a serialized novel, and he's stuck. And you've got the staff with all their problems, and then the loop begins. And it starts off very simple. It has, because this one is much more akin to Groundhog Day in a sense of there is a loop, but it's 2 minutes rather than a day. But it focuses you on the characters, and you're watching them try to figure it out. They're only 2 minutes, so you see them. So your point of view is as a waitress who is working there. She's the person you always go back to after 2 minutes. So whenever the time stops, you go back to where she is rather than anywhere else. So it's always like where she is. It's a very good technique because it simplifies things and it helps you with geography, because you see her react to the situation and having to go and deal with different guests. So you get an idea of where everyone is in the location. You get an idea of who everyone is through their interaction with her. You get an idea of who she is through their interaction with them, from her persona when she's at work, for who she actually is outside of work, and her frustrations and everything else. So she becomes the central character, and you get a sense of what she's about through different interactions. But you also get a good idea of who everyone else is. There are various, because the crisis brings out their paranoia, their anger, and the good side of the personalities as well. So because everyone's trying to be positive and trying to deal with the situation is cleanly and as unmelodramatic as possible. We'll still try to work it out. Of course, all goes to hell at a certain point, but they're trying. And this idea of people under pressure and how different people break, but also what's the good side of that? What's the side of people having resilience against this terrible situation? So you watch her deal with people, and you find out what's her problems in life, what's the problems in life of her friends, as we keep on looping back. And I'm trying to avoid getting into deep spoilers, because I'm not going to, only at some point I'm going to go top 2. And basically, the film does have a satisfying conclusion. It does have something to make sense of why it's happening. It's not overly complicated. You don't need to read 10 science books to figure it out. It is. They do give you a satisfying conclusion. But what the film also does is it knows when one plot line or one kind of mood has had its time, and you have to move on to up the stakes a little bit. So at a certain point, it knows like this is a section of the film you introduce everybody. This is where you see the problems develop more, and it always knows when at a certain point you're about to get bored, but you have to introduce something else to keep it interesting for the viewer. So you're not getting a repetition, even though it's a film about repetition. You're not getting a repetition because this girl, when she goes back to the same place, she never goes back to the same room she's in before, or if she does, it's for a reason. So she has to go with different people who she's met in the last loop, because they've all remembered as well, and they're trying to work out what's going on. So the film always knows when it's time to move on to the next story level, when the next bit of mood has to change. So you go from establishment to what the development of the problems, people behaving badly, people figuring stuff out as they go along, and then things start to make sense for why it's happening. And it's a fast moving film, but for what would be in normal events, very slow moving events, but the pace of it is really fast because she's always on her feet. She always has to keep moving, and she's wearing a kimono because that's the dress code. So she's always shuffling about, and so always there's a bit of human. She has to run somewhere or get from one location to another location really fast to get more information. But the film's a joy. The film is really wonderful. I'd highly recommend it. I mean, from me who liked the first film the director did but didn't love it, this was a big step up. I'm not sure what the interpretation is of people who adored the first film. I think because the first film took people by surprise, maybe some of them will feel this one's just a bit more the same, but it's really not. It's really a different take on a similar idea, but the setup's similar, but the execution is completely different. So it'll depend on what you're looking for in a film. But I found this one to be more enjoyable because it actually took what was the situation and gave more character than the first one, at least for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm trying not to go into details or spoilers. Just go see it. It's charming. It's wonderful. And that's me for now. I'll see you soon. Bye.